Story disclaimer. This story is a work of fiction and is intended for entertainment purposes only. The content includes dark themes, horror elements, and fictional depictions of rituals and sacrifices that are purely imaginative and not reflective of any real-life practices or beliefs. Viewer discretion is advised. This video is not suitable for younger audiences, and parental guidance is recommended. The story does not endorse or promote any harmful behavior, violence, or dangerous activities. Please note that all characters, events, and settings are entirely fictional and created for the purpose of storytelling. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events, is purely coincidental. Enter the captivating world of Efi, a charming young man who discovers a mystical portrait that grants him the gift of eternal youth. Living in a vibrant African city, Efi quickly becomes the envy of all, reveling in his newfound beauty and the power it brings. But as he basks in admiration, he soon learns that every blessing comes with a hidden cost. What will Efi sacrifice to maintain his charm? Can he escape the shadows creeping closer each day? Join us for this thrilling tale filled with suspense, dark twists, and emotional conflicts that will keep you on the edge of your seat. If you enjoyed this sneak peek into Efi's journey, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share for more captivating stories. Your support helps us bring more thrilling tales to life. In the bustling city of Nyambani, where the sun painted the streets golden and children played joyfully, there lived a young man named Efi. Efi was known for his striking beauty, with smooth skin that glowed like the morning sun and eyes that sparkled like the stars. He lived with his wealthy uncle, who often traveled, leaving Efi alone with his thoughts and dreams. One sunny afternoon, while wandering through the colorful market, Efi stumbled upon a hidden art gallery. Intrigued, he stepped inside, where the air was filled with the scent of paint and fresh canvas. Among the vibrant paintings, one caught his eye, a stunning portrait of himself, painted by the talented artist, Basil Mwangi. Basil was a kind man who saw beauty in everyone. As Efi gazed at the portrait, he felt an odd connection to it. It seemed to capture not only his beauty but also a hidden darkness he had never noticed before. "This is the best version of me," he exclaimed, captivated by the portrait's beauty. He wished he could stay young and handsome forever, but little did he know that his wish would soon come true, leading him down a dark and twisted path. Basil approached, noticing Efi's fascination. "Isn't it beautiful?" he asked, his voice soft. "Yes, but it feels like it holds a secret," Efi replied, his eyes still locked on the painting. Basil smiled knowingly. "Every painting tells a story, Efi. Sometimes, they reveal things we cannot see in ourselves." As they talked, Efi felt a strange desire to possess the portrait of himself. He wanted to keep it forever, believing it would remind him of his beauty. Basil, sensing Efi's attachment, offered to give it to him. "Take it, Efi. But remember, beauty is not just skin deep." Efi nodded, but deep inside, he felt a strange excitement. He took the portrait home, where it hung in his room, a constant reminder of his beauty. Little did he know, this portrait would soon change his life forever. Efi's life was filled with admiration and envy. People adored him, but some whispered behind his back, jealous of his charm. One evening, while attending a lavish party at his uncle's mansion, Efi met a mysterious woman named Nana. She was captivating, with long hair that flowed like the night sky and eyes that sparkled with mischief. "Efi, you have everything, beauty, youth, and wealth," Nana said, leaning closer. "But what if I told you there's a way to keep it forever?" Intrigued, Efi listened as she spoke of an ancient cult hidden deep within the city. "They possess knowledge that can keep your beauty intact, no matter what. But it comes at a cost," she warned, her voice low and secretive. "What cost?" Efi asked, excitement bubbling within him. Nana smiled slyly. "Your soul. They ask for something precious in return. But don't worry, they'll never take anything you're not willing to give. Efi felt a thrill run down his spine. The idea of never aging, of remaining forever beautiful, was intoxicating. As the party continued around him, he couldn't shake Nana's words from his mind. The thought of joining the cult excited him, even if it meant making a dark pact. That night, Efi lay in bed, staring at his portrait. What would you sacrifice to stay young and beautiful? He wondered aloud. The portrait seemed to shimmer in response, as if it held the answers he sought. Days turned into weeks, and Efi couldn't stop thinking about the cult. Nana appeared at more gatherings, her presence enchanting him further. She invited him to meet the cult leader, a wise woman named Mama Kazi, who held the secrets to eternal beauty. Finally, Efi made his decision. He wanted to meet Mama Kazi. One night, under the cover of darkness, he followed Nana to a hidden temple on the outskirts of Nyambani. The air was thick with mystery, and the sound of drums echoed in the night. Inside, Efi was greeted by a group of followers, their faces painted in vibrant colors, dancing around a flickering fire. At the center stood Mama Kazi, her voice smooth and comforting. "Welcome, Efi. I've been expecting you." Efi's heart raced. "I want to join your cult. I want to stay beautiful forever." Mama Kazi studied him carefully. "Are you willing to pay the price? Beauty comes at a cost, and only you can decide what you will sacrifice." "I'll do anything," Efi replied, a mix of excitement and fear swirling inside him. "Then step forward, and we shall begin," Mama Kazi said, gesturing for him to come closer. "Just make a pact with me. Your portrait will bear the weight of your sins and corruption, allowing you to remain forever young. But be warned, the price may be greater than you imagine." As he approached the fire, Efi felt a strange energy surrounding him. The air crackled with power, and he knew this was a moment that would change everything. With the cult members watching closely, Efi stood before Mama Kazi, feeling both exhilarated and terrified. The flickering fire cast shadows across the room, making everything feel surreal. "What must I do?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Mama Kazi smiled knowingly. "You must offer something of great value. An animal's blood will suffice. It symbolizes your commitment to the pact." She reached into her robe and produced a small sharp object, its blade gleaming in the firelight. Efi hesitated. "An animal," he echoed, unsure. "What kind of animal?" "Choose wisely, for this sacrifice will bind your fate to the portrait," she replied, her voice enchanting. Thinking quickly, Efi chose a white goat that belonged to his uncle. It was a beautiful creature with soft, fluffy fur and kind eyes. "I will offer this goat," he announced, feeling a mix of guilt and excitement. The cult members nodded in approval, then Efi felt a sense of belonging. They led him to a sacred altar, where the goat stood peacefully, unaware of the ritual about to unfold. Efi was shocked to see the goat. Mama Kazi laughed. "We were ahead of you, we knew what you will sacrifice." Efi blood ran cold. With trembling hands, Efi made the sacrifice. As the animal's blood soaked the ground, he felt a surge of energy coursing through him. "From this day forth, you will remain forever young and beautiful," Mama Kazi proclaimed, her voice echoing in the temple. As the ritual concluded, Efi glanced at the portrait hanging in his room. He felt a strange warmth envelop him, and for the first time, he understood the true weight of his decision. Days turned into weeks, and Efi marveled at how time seemed to stand still. His skin remained flawless, and his charm only grew stronger. People adored him more than ever, and he became the talk of Nyambani. Efi was in love with himself. When he passed a mirror, he would admire himself and even throw a kiss at his own reflection. But even with the beauty, deep down, Efi felt an emptiness growing inside him. He started to avoid looking at the portrait, fearing what it might reveal. Each time he caught a glimpse of it, he felt an unsettling chill, as if the painting was alive and watching him. One evening, as he prepared for another glamorous event, Efi decided to confront the portrait. He stood before it, heart racing, and gazed into his own eyes. "What have I done?" he whispered, fearing the darkness within. Just then, a sharp knock interrupted his thoughts. It was Nana. "You look incredible, Efi. The party is waiting for you," she exclaimed, her excitement contagious. Efi forced a smile, pushing aside his unease. "Thank you, Nana. Let's go." As they left, he felt a strange tension in the air. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, that his beauty came at a much higher price than he had anticipated. At the party, Efi shone brighter than ever. Guests surrounded him, and laughter filled the air. But as he mingled, he noticed whispers behind his back. "He's too perfect," one person murmured. "It's unnatural." Efi's heart sank. Had people begun to notice the change? Had they sensed the darkness lurking beneath his flawless exterior? He turned to Nana, desperate for reassurance. "Don't listen to them, Efi. They're just jealous," she replied, her eyes sparkling. "You're a star, beautiful, you can have any woman you want. Look, they are all looking at you, the star, and stars attract attention. Embrace it." But as the night wore on, the whispers grew louder. Efi felt an overwhelming sense of dread. He couldn't shake the feeling that his beauty was a curse, trapping him in a world of envy and distrust. That night, he returned home and stood before the portrait. To his horror, he noticed a change. The painting seemed to show a shadow creeping over his face, darkening the once vibrant colors. Efi gasped. "What does this mean?" he cried out in despair. Just then, a voice echoed in his mind, whispering secrets of the pact. "You must keep the darkness at bay, Efi. Or the price will become too great." Haunted by the changes in the portrait, Efi withdrew from social gatherings, isolating himself in his room. He couldn't face the world outside, filled with whispers and judgment. Instead, he pored over books about the cult and its secrets, searching for answers. One evening, while reading by candlelight, he stumbled upon an old tale about a painter who lost his soul to his art. The more he read, the more parallels he saw between the story and his life. Am I becoming like him? Efi wondered, a sense of dread filling his heart. Determined to understand the true nature of his pact, Efi decided to visit Mama Kazi again. Perhaps she held the answers he desperately sought. He remembered the location of the cult's temple and made his way through the darkened streets of Nyambani, feeling the weight of his secrets pressing down on him. When he arrived, the temple was eerily quiet, the stark contrast to the lively gatherings he once enjoyed. The flickering flames of the candles cast dancing shadows on the walls as he stepped inside. Mama Kazi appeared, her presence commanding yet warm. "Efi," she greeted him, her eyes glinting like polished stones. "What brings you back to our sacred space?" "I need to understand the pact," Efi replied, his voice steady but filled with urgency. "I've seen changes in my portrait, and I feel a darkness growing within me." Mama Kazi regarded him thoughtfully, her expression unreadable. "Every choice has a consequence, Efi. Your beauty was a gift, but it carries a burden. The portrait reflects not just your appearance, but your soul." "What do you mean?" Efi asked, confusion washing over him. "The darkness you see is your inner turmoil. The more you indulge in vanity and seek the admiration of others, the more that darkness will grow," she explained. "If you do not confront it, it may consume you." Efi's heart raced. He realized that he had been so focused on maintaining his beauty that he had neglected the goodness within him. "How can I reverse this? How can I keep my soul intact?" Mama Kazi placed her hand on his shoulder. "You must confront your past and the choices you've made. Only then can you find the light within and balance the darkness." With newfound determination, Efi left the temple, knowing he had to face his own demons and the sacrifices he had made. The path ahead was unclear, but he understood he had to change to preserve his essence. The next day, Efi ventured into the heart of Nyambani, seeking to reconnect with his roots. He visited his uncle's farm, where the white goat had lived before the sacrifice. It felt like a distant memory, but the weight of his decision hung heavy in his mind. As he approached the farm, he was greeted by a familiar face, Amani, a childhood friend who had always seen beyond Efi's beauty. Amani was working on the farm, her hands dusty but her smile bright. "Efi, it's been ages. I didn't think I'd see you here," she exclaimed, her voice warm and inviting. "Amani, I've missed this place," Efi said, feeling a wave of nostalgia wash over him. "I've lost myself in the chase for beauty, and I'm trying to remember who I really am." Amani's expression turned serious. "We all change, Efi, but don't forget where you come from. The heart of who you are matters more than any outward appearance." They spent the afternoon reminiscing about their childhood adventures, laughing and sharing stories. With every laugh, Efi felt the shadows lift slightly. He realized that in his pursuit of beauty, he had forgotten the joy of friendship and love. As the sun began to set, Amani noticed the painting on Efi's phone, a picture of his portrait. "That's beautiful, but it seems like you've put too much importance on it," she said thoughtfully. Efi felt a twinge of guilt. "I've let it define me," he admitted. "But I'm trying to find balance again. Just remember, beauty fades, but kindness and goodness last forever," Amani replied, her eyes sparkling with wisdom. Feeling rejuvenated after reconnecting with Amani, Efi returned home, eager to see how the portrait had changed. As he entered his room, the flickering light cast an eerie glow on the painting. His heart raced with anticipation. To his shock, the portrait had transformed even more dramatically. The vibrant colors were muted, and a twisted, grim expression marred his once perfect face. Fear washed over him as he stepped back, realization dawning upon him. This was no mere reflection of aging, it was a reflection of his actions and choices. As he stared into the eyes of his painted self, Efi saw the darkness that had taken root in his heart, the envy, the vanity, the cruelty he had shown to those around him. Panic gripped him. "What have I done?" he gasped, stumbling backward. In that moment, the air grew heavy with an ominous energy, and a voice whispered from the shadows. "Your beauty comes at a price, Efi. You must pay for your sins." Efi fell to his knees, trembling. "No. I didn't mean to harm anyone. I just wanted to remain young and admired." The voice echoed, cold and relentless. "Your desires have led you astray. Only true repentance can save you now." Desperate to undo the damage he had done, Efi searched his heart for the path to redemption. "What must I do?" he cried out, his voice filled with anguish. "Face the consequences of your actions and seek forgiveness from those you have wronged," the voice replied, fading into the shadows. Determined to confront his past and seek forgiveness, Efi set out to find those he had hurt. He remembered his friend Amani and how genuine she had always been. He also thought of others who had admired him but had felt less worthy in his presence. His first stop was to visit a local community center where he had once volunteered, bringing joy to children in need. There, he found the young ones still remembering his playful nature. However, when he approached the center, he noticed a group of kids huddled together, whispering. "Look, it's Efi Gray," one of the children exclaimed. "He used to come here all the time." But as he got closer, he overheard another child say, "He's too beautiful for us. He doesn't care about us anymore." Efi's heart sank at their words, realizing the hurt he had caused by distancing himself. Taking a deep breath, Efi stepped forward. "Hey, everyone. I'm back, and I want to help again," he announced, his voice filled with sincerity. The children looked at him skeptically, but Amani appeared beside him. Efi'S right. He wants to make amends, she said, her voice reassuring. Let's give him a chance. With Amani's support, Efi began organizing activities for the children, bringing laughter and joy back to their lives. As he played games and shared stories, he felt a sense of fulfillment he hadn't experienced in ages. The darkness inside him began to lift. But one child, a boy named Limo, still held resentment. Why should we trust you? You only care about yourself, he shouted, crossing his arms defiantly. Efi's heart sank. You're right, Limo. I've been selfish. I let my beauty and fame cloud my judgment. I'm truly sorry for hurting you all. I want to change. Limo stared at him, and after a moment, he said, show us you can change. Prove it. Efi felt the weight of Limo's challenge pressing down on him. He understood that he needed to prove himself to the children, not just with words, but with actions. He decided to organize a special event at the community center to bring everyone together, hoping to show his sincerity. Over the next few days, he worked tirelessly, planning games, art activities, and a storytelling session that would celebrate their culture. Amani helped him, offering her creativity and enthusiasm. Together, they transformed the center into a vibrant space filled with laughter and excitement. Finally, the day of the event arrived. Children from all over the neighborhood gathered, their faces lighting up with joy. Efi felt a flutter of nervousness in his stomach but pushed it aside. This was his chance to redeem himself. As the festivities began, Efi watched the children laugh and play, feeling a warmth in his heart. He shared stories that celebrated their heritage, weaving tales of courage and kindness. But amidst the laughter, Limo remained distant, watching with crossed arms. After the storytelling session, Efi approached Limo, who was sitting alone. I know you're still unsure about me, Efi said gently. But I'm here to prove that I've changed. What can I do to show you I'm serious? Limo looked up, his expression thoughtful. You can help us fix the garden outside. It's been neglected, and we need your help to make it beautiful again. Efi nodded eagerly. I'd love to help. Let's do it together. As they worked side by side, digging and planting seeds, Efi felt a connection forming. Limo watched as Efi laughed and encouraged the other children, slowly warming to him. It was a test of trust, and Efi was determined to pass. Days turned into weeks as Efi continued to help at the community center, working alongside the children to revive their garden. With every seed they planted, Efi felt the darkness within him begin to fade, replaced by a sense of purpose and belonging. Limo, initially skeptical, started to open up. He shared stories of his dreams of becoming an artist and how much he admired Efi's talent. You know, I used to think you were just a pretty face, Limo admitted one afternoon, covered in dirt and laughter. But you're actually pretty cool. Efi smiled, his heart swelling with warmth. Thank you, Limo. That means a lot. I've learned so much from you and all the kids here. You all inspire me. As they continued to cultivate the garden, it flourished into a vibrant tapestry of colors, drawing the attention of the entire neighborhood. Efi was proud of what they had accomplished together. The garden became a place for creativity and connection, and the children found joy in nurturing it. One day, while they were painting garden signs, Limo turned to Efi with a serious expression. You really care about us now, don't you? It's like you've changed since you started helping. Efi nodded, feeling the weight of his past decisions lift. I do care. I realized that beauty is not just about how we look but about how we treat others. I'm learning that kindness is the most beautiful thing of all. As the bond between Efi and the children deepened, he began to feel a sense of belonging that he had never experienced before. The darkness that had plagued him seemed to be diminishing, replaced by the light of friendship and community. But just when things seemed to be going well, Efi received an unexpected visit from one of the cult members, an enigmatic woman named Zara. She was known for her persuasive skills and deep ties to the cult, and her presence sent chills down Efi's spine. Zara approached Efi as he was leaving the community center one evening. "Efi Gray," she said, her voice smooth as silk. "You have strayed too far from the path. Your beauty belongs to us. You cannot escape your fate." Efi felt a shiver run down his spine. "I've chosen to embrace kindness and community. I don't want any part of the cult anymore," he declared, his voice steady. Zara raised an eyebrow, amusement dancing in her eyes. "You think you can simply walk away? Your pact with us cannot be undone so easily. The darkness inside you is still waiting, lurking beneath the surface." Fear gripped Efi's heart. He could feel the shadows creeping back, threatening to engulf him once more. "I won't let it control me," he shouted, surprising even himself with his conviction. Zara stepped closer, her gaze piercing. "You may resist for now, but remember this: beauty has a price, then so does rejection. You will soon discover the consequences of your choices." With those ominous words hanging in the air, Zara vanished into the night, leaving Efi shaken. He rushed back to the community center, seeking comfort in the laughter of the children. But even amidst their joy, the shadows of doubt crept back into his mind. As the days passed, Efi found it increasingly difficult to shake off the unease Zara's visit had stirred within him. Although he had committed himself to helping the community, the lingering darkness whispered doubts and fears in his ear. One evening, after a particularly enjoyable day with the children, Efi decided to check his portrait. He felt an unsettling pull toward the painting, almost as if it were calling him. When he finally stood before it, his heart raced. To his horror, the portrait had changed yet again. The once vibrant colors were now smeared with shadowy patches, and his painted face bore a look of anguish. He stepped back, his breath quickening. "No, this can't be happening." Suddenly, he heard a soft voice. "Efi, you cannot escape the truth. You must confront the darkness within you." Whipping around, he found Amani standing in the doorway, her expression filled with concern. "What's wrong? You look pale," she said, stepping closer. I don't know, Amani. I thought I was doing the right thing by helping the children, but the shadows, they're creeping back," he confessed, his voice trembling. Amani looked into his eyes, searching for the truth. "You need to face what you fear, Efi. You can't run away from it. The more you try to ignore it, the stronger it becomes." Efi nodded slowly, feeling the weight of her words sink in. "I'll confront it. I have to face whatever darkness lies within me." That night, Efi barely slept. Images of the portrait haunted him, and the whispers of the darkness echoed in his mind. He felt a storm brewing inside him, threatening to unleash its fury. The next day, he sought guidance from Mama Kazi, hoping she could help him navigate the storm within. He arrived at the temple, the atmosphere heavy with tension. Mama Kazi welcomed him, her presence grounding. "Efi, you've come back. What troubles you?" she asked, her voice calm and reassuring. "I can feel the darkness rising again. I don't know how to fight it," Efi admitted, his voice quaking. Mama Kazi regarded him thoughtfully. "To combat the shadows, you must embrace the light. You need to confront your deepest fears and regrets. Only then can you find balance." "What if I can't face it? What if it consumes me?" Efi whispered, fear lacing his words. "Remember, Efi, even the darkest night will end, and the sun will rise again. You have the strength within you," Mama Kazi said, placing her hand on his shoulder. "Do not shy away from your truth. Inspired by her words, Efi felt a renewed sense of purpose. He would confront the darkness head-on and reclaim the light that had slipped away. The following evening, Efi gathered the courage to face his portrait once more. He felt a magnetic pull drawing him toward the painting, as if it were a portal to his soul. As he stood before it, he took a deep breath and focused on the darkness within him. "I am Efi Grey, and I refuse to be a prisoner of my fears," he declared, his voice echoing through the room. In that moment, the air grew heavy with energy, and the shadows around the portrait seemed to ripple. Efi felt a force tugging at him, threatening to drag him into the depths of despair. But he stood firm, calling upon the strength he had discovered through his friendships and acts of kindness. "Show me the truth. Let me see what I must confront," he cried, feeling the shadows swirl around him. Suddenly, the painting shifted, revealing a series of images, his moments of vanity, his selfish decisions, and the pain he had caused others. Efi gasped as he witnessed the truth unfold before him. He saw himself ignoring Amani's friendship, dismissing Limo's struggles, and indulging in his beauty without regard for those who admired him. Each moment felt like a dagger to his heart, but he stood his ground, absorbing the reality of his choices. "Enough," he shouted. "I will not let this darkness define me any longer." As Efi confronted his past, he felt the shadows begin to retreat. Each time he acknowledged a painful memory, a light shone brighter within him. But he knew he had to make a choice, to embrace the light or to succumb to the darkness. Just as he began to feel the weight of despair lifting, Zara reappeared in the room, her presence cloaked in mystery. "You think you can escape the darkness, Efi? You're a fool to believe you can choose the light," she taunted, a cruel smile on her lips. "I am not a fool. I choose to be better, to embrace kindness and friendship," Efi declared, his voice unwavering. Zara's smile faded, replaced by a glare. "You think your choices can change the outcome? You belong to us, Efi. You are tied to the pact." In that moment, Efi felt a surge of defiance. "I will not let you control me. I have friends who care about me, and I will fight for them." As he spoke those words, a radiant light enveloped him, pushing Zara back. The shadows around the portrait swirled violently, then for the first time, Efi felt in control. The room shook as the light clashed with the darkness, creating a tumultuous storm of energy. Efi felt the shadows clawing at him, trying to drag him back into despair. Zara's laughter echoed, taunting him as she called upon the darkness. "You cannot escape your true self, Efi. You will always be bound to your sins," she shrieked, her voice filled with malice. But Efi stood his ground, remembering the love and support of his friends. He focused on Amani, Limo, and the children at the community center. "No. I refuse to be defined by my mistakes," he shouted, drawing strength from their memories. As he fought against the shadows, Efi felt a powerful energy surging through him. With every heartbeat, the light grew brighter, illuminating the darkness. The storm within him intensified, but he embraced it, allowing it to transform into a force of hope. "I am not alone. I will not give in," Efi declared, his voice ringing out with conviction. With a final surge of determination, Efi unleashed the light within him, shattering the darkness that had threatened to consume him. The shadows dissipated, and Zara's screams faded into the void. Efi stood in the aftermath, breathless but victorious. He felt the warmth of the sun pouring in through the window, washing away the remnants of fear and doubt. The portrait shimmered, the twisted expression on its canvas transforming into one of serenity and joy. Efi stepped back, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. He had confronted his darkness and emerged stronger. As he gazed at the portrait, he realized that his beauty was no longer tied to a pact of corruption. It was now a reflection of his growth, kindness, and the love he had for those around him. He could feel a connection to his true self, unburdened by guilt and regret. But even as Efi celebrated his victory, a lingering doubt crept into his mind. Had he truly defeated the darkness, or was it merely lying in wait, biding its time? He pushed the thought aside, determined to focus on the positive changes in his life. The next day, Efi decided to share his transformation with the children at the community center. He wanted them to see that it was possible to change for the better and to embrace the light within themselves. As he gathered them around, their eager faces lit up with curiosity. "Today, I want to talk about something important," he began, his heart racing. "I've learned that we all have darkness inside us, but we also have the power to choose the light." The children listened intently, their eyes wide with understanding. "You mean like when we feel sad or angry?" Limo asked, his voice small. "Exactly," Efi replied, kneeling down to their level. "But it's how we respond to those feelings that matters. We can choose to be kind, to help others, and to embrace love." Amani chimed in, her voice filled with encouragement. "Just like Efi helped us create this beautiful garden. It's a symbol of how we can grow and make the world a better place." Inspired by the conversation, the children began to share their own experiences. They spoke of times when they felt angry or sad, but how they found comfort in their friendships. As they talked, Efi felt a sense of pride swell within him. They were learning and growing together. Just as the atmosphere began to lighten, an unexpected figure entered the community center. It was Zara, her presence as ominous as ever. Efi's heart raced, and he felt the shadows creeping back, but he reminded himself of his newfound strength. "Back for more, Zara?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "I thought I had rid myself of your influence." Zara smirked, her eyes glinting with malice. "You think you've won, Efi? You are mistaken. Darkness is not something you can simply banish. It will always seek to reclaim what it lost." Efi felt the fear begin to swell again, but he stood firm. "I won't let you take me back. I've learned that I have the power to choose my path, and I choose light." Zara laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the center. "Very well, but let's see how long your resolve lasts. I have something to show you." Efi exchanged worried glances with Amani and Limo. "What do you mean?" he asked, fear knotting in his stomach. With a flick of her wrist, Zara conjured a vision in the air before them. It was a swirling darkness that depicted the suffering of others, people in despair, isolated, and lost. "Look at what happens when you turn your back on the shadows, Efi. This is the world without balance. You cannot ignore the darkness, it is part of who we are." As the vision faded, Efi felt an overwhelming weight pressing down on him. He had seen suffering before, but seeing it so vividly made it all the more real. "But we can help. We can create change," he insisted, desperation rising in his voice. Zara shook her head, her expression taunting. "You cannot save everyone, Efi. No matter how much light you bring, darkness will always linger. It will find a way to seep back into the world." Feeling trapped between despair and hope, Efi clenched his fists. "Then I will fight. I will help those I can, and I won't let the darkness win." "Fighting alone will not suffice," Zara replied, her tone growing more menacing. "You will need to gather allies, those willing to stand against the shadows. Without them, you will falter." Efi took a deep breath, absorbing her words. He realized the truth in her statement. He needed to build a network of support, not just for himself but for others who felt lost in the darkness. He turned to Amani and Limo, who stood by him, their expressions filled with determination. "We'll do it together," Efi declared, newfound resolve surging through him. "We'll create a movement of light, bringing together everyone who believes in kindness and community." Over the next few weeks, Efi, Amani, and Limo worked tirelessly to spread their message of hope. They organized community gatherings, inviting everyone to share their stories, dreams, and fears. The response was overwhelming. People from all walks of life came together, united in their desire for change. Each gathering became a beacon of light in the heart of the city. Stories of kindness and compassion echoed through the streets, and people began to believe in the possibility of a better world. Efi felt invigorated, fueled by the collective energy of their shared mission. As the community grew stronger, they began to notice the shadows of Zara's influence lurking nearby. It was as if the cult was waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Efi remained vigilant, determined to keep the darkness at bay. But as the movement gained momentum, Zara's presence became more pronounced. Efi could feel her watching, always just out of sight. He knew she wouldn't let him succeed without a fight. One afternoon, as they were preparing for another community event, Efi received a message from an unexpected source, Amani's older brother, Kofi, who had once been involved with the cult. He wanted to meet and discuss his experiences. Curiosity piqued, Efi agreed to meet Kofi at a local cafe. He hoped Kofi could provide insight into the cult's inner workings and offer strategies for resisting their influence. When they met, Efi could see the weight of regret in Kofi's eyes. Efi, I was a part of the cult for years. I thought I could control the darkness, but it consumed me. I want to help you avoid my mistakes, Kofi said earnestly. Efi listened intently as Kofi shared his experiences, detailing how the cult preyed on insecurities and manipulated its members. They thrive on fear and isolation. You must build a strong community, a family that supports one another, he warned. Kofi's words resonated deeply with Efi. He understood that the love and connection they had cultivated in their community was their greatest weapon against the darkness. Empowered by Kofi's advice, Efi returned to the community center with renewed determination. He called an emergency meeting, gathering everyone to discuss how they could strengthen their bonds and protect one another. Zara and the cult won't stop until they see us fail, Efi explained, pacing the room. But we have something they don't, each other. We must create a fortress of light around our community. The group brainstormed ideas, sharing thoughts on how they could support one another in times of darkness. They discussed mentorship programs, workshops, and safe spaces for sharing fears and vulnerabilities. As the ideas flowed, Efi felt the energy in the room surge, igniting a collective fire of hope. They decided to hold an event to celebrate their unity and resilience, inviting the entire city to join them. The gathering would serve as a reminder that kindness and connection could overcome even the deepest shadows. The day of the event arrived, and the community center was transformed into a vibrant hub of joy and laughter. Colorful banners adorned the walls, and tables overflowed with food and decorations crafted by the children. As the sun set, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement. Efi stood on a makeshift stage, looking out at the crowd of faces, some familiar, others new, all united in their desire for change. Thank you for being here today. Efi called, his voice resonating with passion. Together, we have built something beautiful. We are not alone, we are a family. Let us celebrate our strength and our commitment to kindness. The crowd erupted in cheers, and Efi felt a surge of joy. As they danced and shared stories, he knew this was more than just an event, it was a powerful declaration of their unity. But even as the festivities continued, Efi couldn't shake the feeling that Zara was lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. He remained vigilant, knowing that their fight was far from over. Just as the event reached its peak, a loud crash shattered the joy. The doors of the community center burst open, and Zara stormed in, flanked by several cult members. Her eyes blazed with fury. Enough of this charade, Efi Grey, she shouted, her voice echoing in the stunned silence. You think you can build a fortress of light? You will see that darkness always prevails. Gasps rippled through the crowd as fear spread. Efi felt his heart race, but he quickly regained his composure. We will not be intimidated, Zara. You cannot break our spirit. Zara sneered, a sinister smile creeping across her face. You're a fool to think this will end well for you. You've stirred the pot, then now it's time to face the consequences. With a swift motion, she raised her hands, and shadows seemed to twist and swirl around her. The air grew heavy, filled with a palpable tension. Efi could feel the darkness pressing in, trying to snuff out the light that had just been ignited. He glanced at the crowd, noting the fearful expressions on their faces. We are not afraid of you, Zara. Amani shouted, stepping forward. We stand together, and you can't take that away from us. The boldness of her words ignited a spark of courage in the crowd. Efi felt emboldened by their support. You're right, Amani. We will not let fear dictate our actions. Zara's smile faded, replaced by a look of rage. You think this is just a game? I will show you the true power of darkness. She gestured, and the shadows around her expanded, swallowing the light in the room. The atmosphere shifted, and the once joyous celebration turned into a battleground of will. The crowd began to huddle together, forming a protective circle around Efi, Amani, and Limo. They held hands, grounding themselves in their shared strength. Focus on the light. Efi called out, rallying everyone. We can push back the darkness together. With a collective deep breath, the group began to chant words of unity and hope. We are one. We are strong. We choose love, not fear. As the chant filled the air, a brilliant light began to emanate from the center of the circle. The shadows that Zara conjured recoiled, retreating from the brightness that surged forth. Efi felt the warmth of the light envelop him, filling him with strength and courage. Zara's eyes widened in disbelief. No. This can't be happening, she screamed, her voice laced with panic as the shadows began to dissolve. Together, we are unstoppable. Amani shouted, raising her voice above the chaos. The crowd's energy surged, and the light intensified, pushing back the darkness. Zara staggered, her power waning in the face of their united front. With a final surge of strength, the group unleashed a wave of light that engulfed Zara, banishing her shadows. As the darkness dissipated, the crowd erupted into cheers, embracing one another in a whirlwind of joy and relief. Efi felt a wave of euphoria wash over him, realizing that their unity had triumphed over the darkness that had threatened to consume them. Efi! We did it! Limo exclaimed, his face alight with happiness. We really pushed her back. Efi smiled, overwhelmed by gratitude for the people who had stood by him. No, we didn't just push her back. We showed her that love and community are stronger than any darkness. As the festivities resumed, Efi felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had faced their fears together and emerged victorious. But he knew that the fight against darkness was an ongoing battle. In the weeks that followed, Efi continued to nurture the bonds within the community. They organized workshops, shared stories, then supported one another in ways that inspired growth and healing. The shadows had been pushed back, but they knew that darkness would always seek to return. One evening, as Efi walked through the city, he reflected on how far he had come. He had once been consumed by vanity and the fear of aging, but now he understood the true meaning of beauty. It was in the connections they formed, the love they shared, and the kindness they showed one another. Suddenly, he felt a familiar chill in the air. Turning, he caught a glimpse of Zara in the distance, her eyes filled with hatred and determination. Efi's heart raced, but instead of fear, he felt resolve. He had faced her once and had the support of his community behind him. Gathering his courage, he whispered to himself, "We will face this darkness together, just like before." As Efi walked forward, ready to confront Zara once more, he knew that this was only the beginning of a new chapter. Their battle against the shadows would continue, but with love, unity, and strength, they would illuminate even the darkest corners of their world.